Welcome, history enthusiasts. Today, we embark on an incredible journey through time to explore some of the most monumental empires in human history. These colossal realms did more than rule over vast territories. They shaped the very foundations of our modern world. From defining national borders to influencing languages and cultures, the impact of these empires is both profound and enduring. But how did such vast domains rise to power? What legacies did they leave behind, and how do they continue to affect us today? Let's delve into the stories of power, conquest, and innovation that propelled these empires to historical greatness. The Akkadian Empire, BC 2334 to 2154 BC. Our first empire is the Akkadian Empire, founded by the ambitious and formidable Sargon of Akkad around 2334 BC. Rising from humble origins, Sargon was said to have been a cupbearer to the king of Kish, a role that provided him proximity to power but not power itself. His rise to power was not just a tale of ambition, but also innovation, as he established what is considered the world's first multinational empire, stretching across the fertile Mesopotamian region. Sargon's conquest began with the unification of city-states in Mesopotamia, creating a central authority over a region that had been a patchwork of small, often warring communities. His military campaigns extended the empire's reach as far north as modern-day Turkey, and as far west as the Mediterranean Sea. But Sargon's true genius may have been in his administration. He appointed loyal administrators, often replacing local rulers to ensure direct control over conquered territories, and established a new system of governance that could manage the complexities of a newly unified state. Under Sargon's rule, the Akkadian Empire saw several significant innovations. Perhaps the most impactful was the promotion of the Akkadian language, which became the lingua franca throughout the empire and beyond. This not only facilitated communication across diverse regions, but also helped in the administration of a vast and varied populace. The empire also saw advancements in the arts, architecture, and law, which would influence Mesopotamian society for generations to come. However, maintaining such a vast empire proved challenging. The later years of the Akkadian Empire were marked by internal strife and economic difficulties, exacerbated by external invasions from the Gutians, a people from the Zagros Mountains. These pressures eventually led to the empire's decline and fall around 2154 BC. Despite its relatively short life, the legacy of the Akkadian Empire in setting the blueprint for future empires in terms of administration, cultural integration, and central governance was unparalleled. As we've seen with the Akkadian Empire, the rise of an empire can dramatically alter the course of history, setting precedents in governance and culture that echo through the ages. But as we'll see with our next empire, these lessons can be applied in vastly different contexts. The Achaemenid Persian Empire, BC 550 to 330 BC. Our next empire is the Achaemenid Persian Empire, founded by Cyrus the Great around 550 BC. Cyrus was not only a king, but a visionary leader, whose conquests laid the foundations for one of the largest empires the world has ever seen. He began by consolidating his rule over the Persian tribes and swiftly moved to conquer the Median Empire. This victory was just the beginning, as he went on to defeat the powerful Lydian kingdom and capture the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Each conquest was strategically executed, expanding Persian territory and influence dramatically. At its zenith, the Achaemenid Empire stretched from the Indus Valley in the east to Thrace and Macedon on the doorstep of the European continent, encompassing Egypt and vast swaths of Central Asia in between. This enormous empire was home to a diverse populace, including Persians, Medes, Egyptians, Jews, Greeks, and many other ethnic groups. Cyrus's empire was unprecedented in scale, and managing such a diverse population required innovative administrative strategies. To manage his sprawling empire, Cyrus and his successors developed an administrative system that was revolutionary for its time. The empire was divided into various provinces or satrapies, each governed by a satrap or governor. This system allowed for efficient local administration while maintaining overall cohesion and loyalty to the central Persian authority. Furthermore, the empire built extensive roads, the most famous of which was the Royal Road, stretching over 600 miles from Susa in Persia to Sardis in Anatolia. This road not only facilitated rapid communication across the empire via mounted couriers, but also promoted trade and mobility of armies. Cyrus the Great is also remembered for his policy of religious and cultural tolerance. He allowed the peoples within his empire to retain their customs and religious practices, which helped to stabilize and integrate his diverse subjects. This is exemplified by his treatment of the Jews in Babylon, whom he allowed to return to their homeland and rebuild their temple in Jerusalem. Such policies endeared him to many of his subjects and helped to ensure the smooth running of his empire. Despite its strengths, the Achaemenid Empire could not withstand the military genius of Alexander the Great, who launched a campaign against it in 334 BC. The Persian forces were defeated at key battles such as Issus and Gaugamela, and by 330 BC, Alexander had toppled the last Achaemenid king, Darius III, marking the end of the empire. The swift fall of the empire at the hands of Alexander the Great underscores not only the might of the Macedonian military strategy, but also internal weaknesses within the Persian imperial structure. The Achaemenid Empire's innovative approach to governance, infrastructure, and cultural integration set standards that would be emulated by future empires across the centuries. As we move forward, we will see how these innovations influenced not just the empires that followed, but also the development of civilization as we know it. The Roman Empire, 27 BC, 8476 or 1453. From the ancient Persian lands, we travel to the Roman Empire, a civilization whose influence still resonates in the modern world. The transformation from the Roman Republic to the Empire began under the stewardship of Augustus, known historically as Octavian. Following his victory at the Battle of Actium in 31 BC, which effectively ended the Roman Republic, Augustus established a new political structure that vested significant powers in the emperor while maintaining the facade of republican governance. This marked the birth of the Roman Empire in 27 BC, heralding a period of unprecedented expansion and prosperity. The Roman Empire reached its zenith under Emperor Trajan, who ruled from AD 98 to 117. Under Trajan, the empire expanded to its largest territorial extent, stretching from the Atlantic coast of modern-day Portugal to the rich lands of Mesopotamia in the east, and from the deserts of North Africa to the misty highlands of Scotland. This vast territory was not just a show of power, but a testament to Rome's ability to govern diverse peoples and integrate them into the imperial system. The legacy of the Roman Empire is vast, but three areas stand out: law, architecture, and language. Roman law, codified in texts like the 12 Tables and later the Corpus Juris Civilis, became the foundation for the legal systems of many modern states. Architecturally, Rome gifted the world concepts such as the arch, the dome, and the use of concrete, exemplified by monumental structures like the Pantheon and the Colosseum. The Latin language, the lingua franca of the empire, evolved into the Romance languages of Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian, and has influenced countless other languages globally. However, the vastness of the Roman Empire also brought with it challenges. From the 3rd century AD onwards, the empire faced mounting pressures, barbarian invasions, economic troubles, and internal power struggles that it could no longer repel or manage effectively. In an attempt to improve administrative efficiency, Emperor Diocletian divided the empire in 286 AD into the Eastern and Western Roman empires. This division was solidified under Theodosius the Foot in 395 AD. The Western Roman Empire fell in 476 AD, brought down by the invasion of the barbarian leader Odoacer. Meanwhile, the Eastern Roman Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire, continued to thrive, preserving Roman heritage until it finally fell in 1453 to the Ottoman Turks. The Roman Empire's story is one of monumental rise and gradual decline, reflecting the complexities of managing a vast and diverse empire over centuries. Its cultural and legal innovations continue to shape the world, underscoring the enduring legacy of what was once a small city on the banks of the Tiber River. The Mongol Empire, 1206 to 1368 AD. We now turn to the steppes of Central Asia, where one of the most formidable empires in history arose under the leadership of Genghis Khan. Born as Temujin, Genghis Khan began his ascent from a tribal warrior to the ruler of the Mongol tribes through a combination of cunning diplomacy and brutal force. In 1206, after uniting the fiercely independent tribes under his leadership, he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, which means universal ruler. His ambition extended far beyond the Mongolian plateau, aiming to create the largest contiguous land empire in history. Genghis Khan's military tactics were revolutionary for their time, relying heavily on mobility, speed, and psychological warfare. His cavalry, composed of highly skilled horsemen armed with composite bows, could cover up to 100 miles in a day. This unprecedented mobility allowed the Mongols to strike swiftly and unpredictably, overwhelming more cumbersome and traditional armies. Under Genghis Khan and his successors, the Mongol Empire expanded across Asia to include parts of Europe and the Middle East, reaching its peak under Kublai Khan. Despite their reputation as conquerors, the Mongols were also skilled administrators who fostered a period of economic stability and cultural exchange known as the Pax Mongolica. This period allowed for the safe passage of goods and ideas along the Silk Road, connecting the East and West like never before. The Mongols implemented systems that promoted trade, including the protection of trade routes and the establishment of relay stations that facilitated commerce and communication across the vast empire. After the death of Genghis Khan, the Mongol Empire was divided among his sons and grandsons into several khanates, including the Yuan dynasty in China, the Ilkhanate in Persia, the Golden Horde in Russia, and the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia. Each khanate pursued its own path, adapting to local customs and politics. Over time, this fragmentation led to the decline of Mongol power as the khanates became increasingly independent and less connected to their Mongol roots. Despite this fragmentation, the legacy of the Mongols' organizational skills and their role in facilitating cross-cultural exchanges remained impactful, significantly influencing the regions under their control and beyond. The Mongol Empire, with its vast conquests and pioneering administrative practices, stands as a powerful example of how leadership and military innovation can rapidly change the world. As we continue, we will see how these empires set the stages for the modern nations and global interactions we are familiar with today. The British Empire, 1583 to 1997. Our exploration of empires now brings us to the British Empire, which began modestly in the late 16th century with maritime ventures seeking new trade routes and markets. The defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588 marked England's emergence as a major naval power, setting the stage for its colonial expansion. Over the centuries, driven by trade, exploration, and sometimes outright conquest, Britain established colonies on every inhabited continent. By the early 20th century, the British Empire was the largest empire in history, governing over a quarter of the world's land and population. This vast empire included dominions, colonies, protectorates, mandates, and other territories spread across the globe. The administration of such a sprawling empire was complex and varied significantly from one region to another. Two notable strategies were indirect rule and the establishment of settler colonies. Indirect rule allowed the British to govern large areas through local traditional leaders, who maintained some authority under the overarching control of the empire. This method was particularly prevalent in Africa and parts of Asia. Settler colonies, such as those in Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, involved significant migration of British citizens who established permanent residences and fundamentally reshaped these societies along British lines. The cultural and economic impacts of the British Empire are profound and far-reaching. The English language, for example, spread across the globe, becoming the lingua franca of international business, science, and diplomacy. British legal systems were also adopted in many parts of the empire, influencing judicial practices and governance structures. Even sports like cricket, football, and rugby were exported from Britain to the colonies, where they remain popular. Economically, the empire facilitated a global trade network, exporting British goods and importing resources such as tea, cotton, and rubber, though this often occurred at a high cost to local economies and societies. The process of decolonization began after World War II, as many territories sought independence, driven by a global push for self-determination and the weakening of Britain's global standing. Countries like India, Pakistan, and numerous African nations gained independence through both peaceful means and conflict. By the late 20th century, the British Empire had largely dissolved, culminating in the handover of Hong Kong to China in 1997. The legacy of the British Empire is mixed. While it contributed to the development of global communication and trade networks, it also left behind complex socioeconomic and political challenges in former colonies. The British Empire's story illustrates not just the reach of imperial power, but also the enduring complexities of its aftermath, which continue to influence international relations and cultural exchanges to this day. Comparisons and contrasts. As we've explored the world's greatest empires, we've seen varying administrative techniques used to manage vast and diverse territories. The Akkadian Empire centralized governance through the use of the Akkadian language, creating a unified administrative network. In contrast, the Roman Empire utilized a more decentralized system, granting significant autonomy to local governors while maintaining allegiance through Roman law and military presence. The British Empire combined these approaches, using both direct colonial rule and the strategy of indirect rule depending on the region. Each empire also had its approach to cultural assimilation and suppression. The Achaemenid Persians were known for their tolerance and inclusion, allowing conquered peoples to maintain their customs and religions. The Mongol Empire, despite its reputation for brutality and war, promoted a synthesis of cultures within its territories, facilitating an exchange that enriched both the conquerors and the conquered. On the other hand, the British Empire often imposed its culture on others, promoting English language and British customs at the expense of local traditions, which sometimes led to cultural erosion. Economically, these empires left legacies that shaped global trade and economic systems well beyond their existence. The Silk Road flourished under the Pax Mongolica, providing a safe passage for traders across Asia to Europe. The Roman Empire's road network facilitated not just military movements, but also commerce across Europe. The British Empire laid the groundwork for modern economic globalization through its vast colonial network that integrated markets across the world, setting up trade routes that are still important today. The enduring legacies of these empires are visible in contemporary global boundaries and cultural identities. The modern political map of the Middle East, for instance, still reflects the divisions of the Roman and Persian empires. English, as a global lingua franca, is a direct legacy of the British Empire. These empires not only shaped histories, they molded the cultural and political realities of today's world. Conclusion. Throughout history, empires have risen and fallen, each leaving an indelible mark on the sands of time. From the Akkadian Empire's administrative innovations to the British Empire's global trade networks, these colossal entities have transformed societies, economies, and cultures across the globe. Reflecting on these stories, we see the nature of power and its implications. History often judges empires by their contributions to civilization and their excesses. This duality invites us to think critically about the role and impact of such vast powers. As we close this chapter of our historical exploration, one wonders what the empires of the future might look like. Will they be political, economic, digital? And what impacts will they have on global society? Which empire do you think was the most influential and why? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to subscribe for more insights and explorations. Thank you for watching.